Howdy y'all. The ancient land of Crete, the largest of the Greek islands, has a historical influence which illuminates the trajectory which has shaped mankind. The phenomenal implications of this distinct society, said to be the first civilization of Europe, has laid key foundations which have, according to modern scholars and historians, molded the very core of our daily lives. Speed round. Crete has an area of 3,260 square miles and 650 miles of coastline, and is the most populous of the Greek islands. Why is Crete important? Through studying the current narrative history of Crete, we may be able to actually peel back the layers of history to see what makes Crete so profound. Take it all with a grain of salt, but we're told stone tools found during excavations in 2009 on the island of Crete have been dated to at least 130,000 years old. Previously, the earliest crossing of the Mediterranean by the ancestors of humans was believed to occur 12,000 years ago, so this find absolutely obliterated the current narrative. It's believed archaic humans traveled to Crete, but what they were in search of is still highly debated. We're told Mesolithic hunter-gatherers of Crete had established some form of early society by 7000 BC, or roughly 9,000 years ago. During this time, we have the earliest origins of Neolithic developments occurring on Crete, which included the archaic earliest writings of Crete, known as Linear A, which even to this day have never been fully deciphered. We also have the remarkable Minoan culture of Crete, which left behind Minoan palaces, roads, homes, sculptures, and paintings. While we're told Crete was occupied 130,000 years ago by archaic humans hunting megafauna, who may have left behind forms of early architecture, we're also told the megafauna on the island was most likely hunted to extinction, resulting in the island of Crete being abandoned. Continuous occupation of Crete is said to date back to the 7th millennium BC, and through the introduction of new species to the island, the population again soared in the late Neolithic period. While the Minoan Civilization was centered in Crete, and Crete was considered their home base from which their horde was cast out into the rest of the world, we're also told the Minoan Civilization advanced quickly and occupied many other territories. However, since the Minoan Civilization has left behind no written record besides that in Linear A, and with no indication of what the Linear A actually says, it is nearly impossible to establish a Minoan chronology. The Minoan Civilization developed around 3100 BC, and complex urban settlements, the precursors to European cities, began to arise within the Minoan sphere of influence by roughly 2000 BC. These settlements were known to have monumental architecture as well as highly vivid and detailed artworks. Little is known about the structure of Minoan society. Minoan artwork does not contain any identifiable forms of government or religion, only further adding to the questioning of the exact nature of the Minoan culture. The Minoan language, and even a second writing system known as Minoan hieroglyphs, have never been deciphered, leading modern academia to argue that the Minoan language and culture was most likely not related to the Semitic or Indo-European families. However, it is believed that Linear A at some point shifted into Linear B, which itself was used to create the earliest forms of Greek writing. It is believed that Minoan figureheads included the Great Mother. Mentioned in my previous video on the Vatican, the Mother Goddess, Magna Mater, is essentially the embodiment of female characteristics and is one of the first personifications ever put into artwork. A carving of the Magna Mater, or Mother Goddess, was discovered on Crete and may date back as early as 5300 BC. However, it is not understood how the Minoan or other early cultures of Crete worshipped these deities. We're also told Crete had domesticated cattle, sheep, pigs, goats, and dogs, as well as legumes and cereal wheats, all of which occurred for the first time in Europe on the island of Crete. And this domestication is believed to predate the Minoan culture. However, the Minoans helped spread these ideals to the rest of Europe. We're told the Minoan structures were built on elevated locations, seemingly to avoid natural disasters like floods, as Minoan settlements and elaborate structures had no defensive walls. And while many might perceive this fact as indicating that the architecture was not monumental, we're told the structures were actually quite large, and the Queen's Palace on Crete is documented as having a working sewer system with bath and toilet with flowing water, all created using highly advanced hydraulic engineering in roughly 2000 BC. We're told by the 16th century BC, a massive earthquake struck the island of Crete and reduced much of the Minoan architecture to ruins, while excavations on mainland Greece indicate the Minoan Civilization and its engineers were already well established throughout ancient Greece. With the rise of the first Dorian city-states and the rapid expansion of a unified Greek kingdom, Crete continued to prosper and was featured heavily in the epics of Homer from the 8th century BC. However, by the 4th century BC, with Crete being one of the centers of trade for the ever-expanding Europe, the elite upper class of Crete continually squabbled over control of the island, and thus control of its trade, resulting in centuries of conflict, which again reduced many of the greatest cities on Crete to rubble. With the growing plight of the aristocrats on Crete, many fled the island for cities on the mainland, with many Cretans even migrating to Egypt. By 200 BC, Crete was a splintered landscape with many claiming rule, yet still continued to function as a center for trade and an important strategic location for all of Europe. In 69 BC, Crete was conquered by the Roman army. However, according to modern archaeologists, Crete, being a hub of trade and merchants, was pro-Roman, and the transfer of power was believed to be relatively smooth for Roman times. The first Christian bishop in Crete was Titus, to whom the largest basilica on Crete was founded in the 1st century AD. Crete remained a stronghold for merchants, trade, and the Byzantine Empire until Crete was captured by Andalusian Muslims in the 820s AD. Many of the largest cities in Crete were purposefully raised at this time, while many new cities were subsequently founded. Included Heraklion, the modern and current administrative capital of Crete. The Empire of Crete was formed as a pirate base of operations and trade hub, and became one of the largest pirate empires to exist in the Middle Ages. These so-called Berber pirates were expelled by Nicephorus Phocas in roughly 961 AD, and the island remained in Greek control until the Fourth Crusade in 1204, when the island of Crete was divided between Genoa and Venice, with Venice solidifying their sole control of Crete by the year 1212. It was known at this time as the Kingdom of Candia. Despite frequent revolts by the people of Crete, the merchants of Venice remained in control of Crete until the outbreak of the Cretan War in 1645, which lasted 24 years until 1669, when Crete was taken over by the Ottoman Empire. Furthermore, the Cretan War included the Siege of Candia, which lasted 21 years and is considered by some scholars to be one of, if not the longest siege in history. With the outbreak of the Greek War for Independence in 1821, Crete played a quintessential role in supporting the Christians of Greece. Crete seemed to be key in this entire conflict. The Sultan of the Ottoman Empire gifted Crete to Egypt in exchange for Egypt's support in other conflicts, and from 1821 through 1828, Crete was almost continuously involved in battles occurring on the island. We're told the Berbers of Crete fled to the bastion forts of the northern coastline, while the Christians fled to the countryside. However, during the conflict, the population of Crete was reduced significantly, as was the architecture, with many of the largest cities on Crete, again, being reduced to rubble. It is also worth noting that the Greek Revolution, or War for Independence, is one of the first in a seemingly endless series of revolutions that occurred in the mid-1800s throughout the world, seemingly directly before the Industrial Revolution, before the introduction of photography, etc., and these revolutions appeared to, whether directly or indirectly, be the catalyst for the loss of old world architecture across the earth. The official Cretan revolt, following failed attempts to gain freedom from the Ottoman Empire, began in the year 1866. Crete became a semi-independent parliamentary state within the Ottoman Empire under an Ottoman governor who at the time had to be Christian. The Ottomans remained in control of Crete through the end of the 19th century, culminating in the 1897 Cretan insurrection, where the Ottoman Empire officially declared war on the rebellious island of Crete. However, the great powers at that time, Austria-Hungary, France, the German Empire, the Kingdom of Italy, the Russian Empire, and Great Britain, all unified to create a multinational naval force known as the International Squadron, who arrived to Cretan waters in February of 1897. The United Great Powers, sans Germany, occupied the largest cities of Crete, expelling all the Ottoman troops from the island by November of that same year. Crete became an autonomous state by December of 1898. Now that we know the accepted history, let's take a look at theory. In a biblical context, Crete is believed to be the homeland of the group known as the Philistines. The Philistines, according to scholars and theologists, are believed to have arrived from Crete to the land around modern Gaza in roughly 1175 BC, meaning for all intents and purposes, if this theory is true, the Philistines would be of a Minoan origin from Crete. When the Minoans arrived in Canaan, it is largely believed this was caused by the late Bronze Age collapse, the somewhat universally agreed upon collapse of several massive city-states across the earth, which may have been brought forth by extreme changes in weather patterns, including what may have been a flooding event followed by an extreme cooling event. We're told the Cretans eventually assimilated with the neighboring cultures in Canaan, forming the basis for the Philistine Semitic culture described in the religious texts. The Philistines, in this theory and belief, were forced into exile into Babylonia, where over time they lost their unique ethnic identity. Essentially, their Minoan roots were lost. By the late 5th century BC, the name Philistine disappears from both historical and archaeological records as a distinct group. What's further, it appears to those in Africa and Asia, the Philistines in this theory from Crete were one of the leading invaders from a group that is known today as the Sea Peoples. Mainstream modern scholars have almost no idea who the Sea Peoples truly were, as nearly every ancient culture makes mention of the Sea Peoples in some fashion, many seeing associations between the Sea Peoples and the people described in the Dead Sea Scrolls, while others claim the Sea Peoples were one of the first hordes of intelligent men to spread their teachings across the earth after their original enlightenment, and may have stemmed from an island to the east of mainland Europe. Crete would fit this description perfectly. The Philistines were conquered by Egyptians in 609 BC. The island of Crete seemingly being the source for the inquisitive and tedious teachings, which not only formed the basis for the first society in Europe, but this seemingly unassuming island was once covered with absolutely massive Minoan architecture, most of which was monumental in size, and yet none of it was considered to be defensive. The structures, founded roughly 5,000 years ago, contained running water made possible by intricate hydraulic engineering systems, which were unique to Crete for that time period. What I'm alluding to is the same as the mainstream narrative, albeit for different reasons. We're essentially led to believe that the island of Crete quite possibly influenced every aspect of society which followed, quite possibly being the first location humans arrived to in Europe some 130,000 years ago. Furthermore, if this location was truly the land where mankind itself advanced and formed the knowledge which led to the first societies, it only adds fuel to our proverbial fire that the people of Crete are thought to have sent one of their hordes out, which landed near modern-day Gaza and became the advanced civilization known as the Philistines, who, according to ancient belief, constantly did battle with Israel and may have been the leading group within the conquerors of the world known as the Sea Peoples. The people of Crete and their island of mystery and magnificent architecture may have miraculously formed the masterclass of society which we all still use today.